Hello, Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I'm your host, Dana, and today we are talking about the Valley and the Real Housewives of Rhode Island. Let's get into it. Happy Saturday, everyone. I hope you're having a great weekend so far. I am on video today so you can see me because I just got a little fresh haircut, little fresh do. So just thought I'd show it off. Why not? But excuse the mess behind me in my apartment. I'm sort of doing some, not renovations, but just some sort of knick-knack changes. I got a new desk, which you can't see because that is what the camera computer is on. I got a new painting for above the couch. It's like a graffiti painting with like a superwoman, and it's like love will conquer all. We have all of the time. Love yourself. Sorry, I'm trying to read it. Queen, it says. I got a new throw blanket for Judy and I. I got a new beautiful candle. I don't know. I just like getting these little tchotchke things. It was just really fun and cute to get. And I'm enjoying just doing these little changes to the apartment. These are cute little fun things I do just to make it feel like new and different. So that is what I've been up to. What about you guys? What has everyone been up to? What are the cool jams? Sorry. We're going to be talking about the Valley today, and I'm not that impressed with it, you guys. I'm not that impressed. I'm not sure if I'm going to be continuing with recapping it. I guess we're going to have to see. I wanted to let you know what the new schedule is going to be going forward because I think I have it pretty down pat now. So Mondays will be Reality Roundup on video as per usual. Then Wednesdays, you are going to have Summer House. Now, I'm going to be doing a series with my friend Jana Firestone where we are both recapping together the Real Housewives of Rhode Island. So today's recap of Real Housewives of Rhode Island will be the last one that you will be getting with just me. We're going to be collabing on this together. We're going to be recording them Monday night my time, Tuesday morning her time because she's in Australia. And I think I'll probably get those out on Tuesdays. So basically, you're going to be getting podcast episodes from me Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, I think. That's probably how it's going to be. We're going to have Reality Roundup, then RHORI, then Summer House. My dog is barking. Do not bark, my darling. So I may continue to do the Valley. I'm not quite sure because right now I'm doing the Valley with RHORI, but I'm not doing RHORI with my friend Jana. Her podcast is called Pop Therapy, just so you know. So we're doing like a Pop Therapy, the Bravo Investigator collab. And yeah, we're really, really excited about that. But I'm not sure what we're going to do with the Valley going forward. There's also Southern Hospitality, which I love, but I do have a lot of other things going on. I've got my full-time job and I am doing another podcast now, which I'm going to mention right now. So it is called All You Need Is You, a podcast about living your best solo life. It gives you tips, tricks, advice, interviews, and just stories about how I'm living the way I'm living, which is alone, but also my very best life, and how it was a real struggle to get to that place. But now that I've learned to get there, I really couldn't be happier. So I can't wait for you guys to listen to it. If that is sort of your jam, or if you know someone whose jam that is, I would love for you to pass that on. You can download All You Need Is You wherever you get your podcasts, and new episodes come out every Friday. I have been putting the episodes on this podcast feed for the Bravo Investigator, just so you guys are aware of it, but it also has its own podcast feed over on All You Need Is You. So definitely go take a listen, check that out. I would love that. But we might as well get into our episodes for today now that we've gone over housekeeping. And wait, just make sure that I'm looking at you guys correctly. There we go. I think that's better. Okay. So The Valley, season 3, episode 3. What's even happening anymore? I kind of feel like there isn't structure to this show. It's become very about a bunch of little things, events, and just little nothings. And there isn't real storyline going on. Like, is the greatest storyline that's happening that Michelle and Schwartz might date at some point, even though we know that they won't? No? So what's really happening here? We're just getting like a bunch of little things, but I feel like we need like one main storyline or two smaller ones to sort of get us through the season. While we do get annoyed when things are repetitive, there's nothing to even be repetitive. We haven't really just moved forward in any regard. I kind of feel like we're getting a lot of filler episodes for the fact that we're episode 3. So that's really weird. Um, we start with Brittany and Kristen going to Dr. Lakey. Do you guys remember Dr. Lakey, who did all of Jax's nose jobs and Brittany's boob job? So he's going to give her the mommy makeover. She's going to get lipo. She's going to get a breast lift. She's going to get her breasts out. And it is the one thing left from Jax that she can finally, like, literally explurge out of her body. I don't know if explurge is a word, but I'm using this right now. And it totally makes sense because it's just like, thanks for the boob job, asshole. But at the same time, it's like the one little piece of him that's like left within her physical body. Can you imagine? Can you imagine having something that someone you hate, something that they paid for within your body that you couldn't get rid of? That would suck. That would really suck. So good for Brittany. It's interesting that she chose to do this all on camera because I remember her, what do you call it? Like her recovery trajectory because it was pretty awful. And I'm surprised she wanted to go through all of that recovery on camera, but I guess maybe she wanted to be like relatable to other people who really knows. And Kristen goes with her, and Kristen wants to get one as well. She totally understands where Brittany's coming from. She feels like so uncomfortable in her own body because she's like, whose body is this? This body is just for Kaya right now. And she stares at her closet and just cries sometimes. And I feel like Kristen has changed so much, which a lot of new moms do. I really feel like to her, her entire body is for Kaya. It doesn't really make sense for it to have any other purpose. But when she looks at it, and I feel like obviously a lot of women feel this way after having children, the way she looks at it now, this used to be a home for Kaya. Now it's not. And now I just don't like the way that it looks, right? She's upset about her bounce back, but like, my God, you know, like she was so lucky to be able to get pregnant at all. And right, like she's not like 22 years old. The bounce back isn't going to be quick. And what even is a bounce back anymore? Can't we just say, this is my new body now? This is the body that Kaya birthed. Easier said than done. What am I even saying? But you know, I wish we could all get to a place where you could be like, this beautiful body, the way that it looks now is what birthed my daughter. And this is the body that I'm obsessed with. So she's not there yet, and I completely understand that. She literally just gave birth, and it's interesting to even watch this all on camera, quite frankly, because she is so recent to having given birth that we're actually watching those real emotions and real raw feelings that she's going through about her body, about sex, about all of that right in front of us, and right as soon as she's having those feelings for the first time as well. So Jason and Luke go to lunch, which seems like a weird pairing, but I guess production was like, hey, we need to sort of move this forward when it comes to Janet and Jason because nobody's talking to them. Janet isn't even in this episode. We can't really go forward as things stand. So Luke, I guess, was tasked with the task to try to get Janet and Jason to apologize to Danny and Nia so Danny and Nia can be friends with them again because Danny and Nia seem to have a lot of events this year. Okay, so they've got their housewarming party and then they had the sip and see. So whatchamacallit, Jason and Janet are missing out on a lot. And Jason is basically like, I'm not going to apologize for all of the things that you guys think I should apologize for. There are some things that I will apologize for. I'm not going to apologize for standing up for my wife. And, you know, I'm not going to apologize for the fact that someone did something wrong and then made no changes to their entire life. Luke seems kind of frustrated with this because he's just like, you know, I think you just need to, you know, suck it up and just make friends with them again. Jason's like, I'm open to a conversation with them, but I just don't know how well it's going to go. And I'm not making compromises on certain things. And I have to commend Jason for at least sort of standing his ground. If he were to just completely buckle and be like, yeah, I'll give you guys whatever you want, then it becomes like so pathetic that and clear that you're only doing this for TV or like because you want to be on TV so badly as opposed to because you actually really care. And we know that they don't really care because it's been a year, right? Which is sort of the point. It's been a year. You guys haven't spoken to each other. So all of this does feel performative. The girls end up having this Y2K party to get Kristen out of her shell. Now, there ends up being contention between the girls for some like real fake drama that I honestly didn't really understand. Like I had to listen to it a few times to really get there, but it was like Jasmine said something like she wouldn't be hanging out with Lala if not for the show. And then Jasmine starts freaking out on Michelle for stirring the pot by telling Lala that. But then it's almost like Jasmine will like deny saying things, which is sort of what we end up continuing to hear about Jasmine, that like she'll say something and then she'll pretend like she didn't say it and get mad at the person who says that she said it. So that's what sort of is happening here. But it's not like, is this a big deal, Lala? Or is this a big, why is this even a big deal? Like, yeah, it is weird. You guys probably wouldn't be hanging out if not for the show. She says that she thinks Lala is fake or there's something in that regard. So, I don't know if she actually said that, but that seems to be sort of like the running vibe of what's going on here. Now, after the party, Kristen isn't hungover, and so she's super happy about that because she sort of feels like you can't have a hangover and have a child. And like it just shows how much, again, she's changed because she is so focused on that child and how life has to be so perfect around her when, there are people. Do you remember when she used to say things like, because Luke used to really try to get her to eat healthy and not drink as much when she was trying to get pregnant. She was like, people used to get pregnant in fields in the 70s while they were doing drugs. It's no big deal, right? But that Kristen is gone. The Kristen of today is just like so obsessed with every little aspect of Kaya that she can't even like fathom doing anything that could possibly like rock the boat, right? Even so much as like have a headache, right? Like you can have a headache and be a new mom. Absolutely. So the thing is, though, about the sex, she really has no interest. And Luke was really hoping she would come back from this at least a little tipsy and have sex with him. This whole storyline is just so annoying and gross to me. I hope we don't continue with it too much longer. I understand that Luke has needs, but Luke needs to understand that she just had a baby 3 months ago. You're not even allowed to have sex 6 weeks after you give birth. So we're really only talking about 6 weeks. Last week, he said that they did have sex once. If she's really feeling to the point where like not interested and not wanting it, back off. Otherwise, you come off as like a skis. And I know that you want it. I understand that. But there are ebbs and flows in relationships. And this is just one of those ebbs and flows. You just need to kind of give her a break for a few months, let her figure her body out, let her sort of get into like a normal pattern again. Your relationship is never going to be the way that it was. I mean, I think that that's obvious. And the fact that he's not putting those things together is what is sort of irking me, right? Like he's sort of expecting their relationship to be exactly the same as it was, plus Kaya, but that's not realistic. And maybe he should be going to therapy or doing some learning when it comes to that because he's coming off super skeezy. It's so weird how badly these men are coming off this season just because Jax isn't here. Like, I think they're actually worse. I don't think it's because Jax isn't here. I think like hearing the way that I still can't get over what Danny said last week to Nia, where she's like pouring her heart out to him about how upset she is about what's going on with her body and her life and with the baby not latching and all of this stuff. And he's like, we just need to worry about our sex schedule. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Shut up about your fucking stupid sex schedule. I can't. So she didn't even like want the girls' night or even need it because she's sort of in this place where like everything is Kaya. So, it's a whole different Kristen. It just really is. So she appreciates at the very least though that Luke is still bringing up sex because it makes her feel like, okay, at least he still wants it. So, okay, fine. If she's not thinking that it's coming off like creepy and skeezy and she actually wants him to like bring it up here and there, all right, if that's what sort of works for them. But I think he needs to tone it down in terms of the expectation because that just feels very unfair. So Brittany and Brandon go for a date night. And I love that she says that now. That is so funny because that comes from us. And I love that she like loves, like the whole internet rhetoric of it all. So they go for this date night and he asks her to be his girlfriend. So apparently they met in Kentucky 17 years ago, but now he lives in California, but he lives like 3 hours away. He has 3 kids, 2 baby mamas. So he considers himself like a red flag and having a lot of baggage, which is an interesting thing to say about yourself, but okay. And, what we find out on the after show, and I'm not going to like go into the after show in detail, but apparently on the after show, he had asked her to be his girlfriend a few times and she had said no. And so when he finally did it again on camera, he had like kind of worn her down and she had said yes. So that is a little bit more controlling and manipulative than I thought. Because honestly, when Zach was all out here being like, she's moving too fast and he's a red flag and all this and that, before he had even met Brandon, I was like, calm down, Zach. Like, and who are you to like, you've been in like one real relationship ever. So give her a break, let her make her decisions for herself. But after this episode and like getting to know more about him, I was just like, oh, all right, Zach be right. It made a lot of sense because this guy, yeah, he does, first of all, gets really involved in the drama. Second of all, I don't like the fact that he does come off controlling and manipulative. If he has asked her to be his girlfriend, she said, no, I'm not ready for that yet. And then he asks again, and she says, no, I'm not ready for that. And then he asks again on camera, knowing that she's probably going to say yes because it's on camera. Like, ugh, I don't really like that. And it gets worse. So Danny and Nia have this like cowboy themed housewarming. And Danny is being so annoying, trying to use a cowboy accent for this entire time, even though Nia is trying to have like a serious conversation with him, which is so incredibly annoying when men do that. And it's just, he's so quirky I don't know if quirky is the right word. He's such a dad. You know what I mean? Which isn't a bad thing. It's just, I don't know if it's that interesting for reality TV. Like, they're our quintessential good couple, but when they're not good and they're like kind of annoying to watch, I don't really care for them anymore, right? Isn't it weird and wild how differently we feel this season from how we felt last season about like all of these people? Do you remember the like ride or die Nia supporters? Like, it was wild that that was happening. People were like, leave this family alone. And now we're like, ew, Danny, ew. Anyway, so on the way up to Danny and Nia's house, Zach is telling the crew that he's sort of worried about Brandon because Brittany tends to go all in with a guy and ignore the red flags. Now, in the other car, Lala is annoyed with Jasmine because of like what Jasmine was saying at the Y2K party. Now, Brandon decides to jump in on this conversation and he's just like, yeah, I think Jasmine's really nice and kind. When I met her, she was super cool. I just think it's a misunderstanding. And it's like, dude, get out of here. Like, you just got here. You're not part of the show. So it's really interesting to see him trying to get so much in the mix. Like, I would have expected him to just kind of stand there quietly, but no, he gets really involved. It was really interesting. So we get a scene of Brandon and Zach meeting for the first time, and it seems to be going pretty well. Zach is saying, I'm a protective friend. Brandon says, well, actually, I asked her out last night, so just so you know, she is my girlfriend. We're official now. And Zach like cannot believe this because he says that Brittany always goes from like 0 to 100. No, on the after show, Brittany says that there was actually many periods of time where she was single. She said, I mean, she went through the whole trajectory of like her dating history, but there was many periods of time where she was single for like a year or two. So it's not exactly as Zach says that she's like always perpetually in a relationship. And she did say no to him twice. So you got to give her some credit for that. But I just think I am a little bit on her side here where it's like, she's an adult. She can make her own decisions. It's different when we're in our early 20s and we really go to our friends for advice like that. Or if she had gone to you at all, right? If she's asking for your opinion and your advice, fine. But if she's not, let her make her own mistakes, right? Like, let her live. She's 40 years old. So Luke starts talking to Danny about possibly talking to Jason. And Danny is so pissed still at Jason and Janet. He's like, they've had a year to talk to me. I've literally never felt this way about anybody. I like hate these people. And he's even pissed that Luke is even hanging out with Jason at all. But it's like, dude, this is the show, okay? Everybody has to be friends with each other or at least be able to be in a room with each other. So Luke is just trying to facilitate making sure that Janet and Jason aren't just sort of left in the dust, which is, I understand what the cast wants. And I assume what they thought was going to happen after last season and how badly it went on the internet, the reunion, whatever. But Janet and Jason got renewed, meaning they are here to stay. So if they're here to stay, you can't ice them out. And it's Kristen Doty who said that very famously, that you can't just not invite someone to an event because it's just not going to work. You can't try to kick someone off a reality show by ignoring them. It just will not work. So don't even bother trying it. So in my opinion, Luke is just doing his job like a good reality star, and he's trying to facilitate some sort of conversation between Danny and Jason. Danny does eventually agree to it, but obviously I don't think that's going to go very well. So then we get in this whole more of a mess with like Brandon and Lala and Jasmine. So apparently Brandon told Jasmine that Lala was talking about her in the car. And then Jasmine relayed back to Michelle that Brandon told her that she was fake in the car. Michelle's like, I didn't say that. Brittany isn't happy that he's getting involved at all. And then it turns into a fight between Lala and Jasmine about talking shit about each other for no reason. Honestly, I found this very difficult to follow, mostly because it was so stupid. And I watched it a multitude of times. So I'm annoyed that it took up so much of my time to keep watching this. It felt very fake, not in like a produced way, but in a very like, okay, I know we're supposed to get in a fight, so let's get in a fight about something. But after watching three times, I can't even tell you what the fight was about. Well, then I don't know where we are. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know where we go with the Valley because this used to be so good. And I know it got dark, but I didn't hate that, right? Like dark isn't always a bad thing. Now it just is purposeless. It's just like a bunch, it almost could be like a bunch of intermittent scenes in like another show. It could almost be like a bunch of little commercials because that's what it feels like. There's no there's no continuity. And that's just what feels like we don't have a real cohesive show here or a cohesive cast, quite frankly. So I'm disappointed. Don't really know what we're going to do here, but I'll keep you posted in terms of what I will do in terms of continuing to recap it. Okay, let's take a quick break and then we will come back for The Real Housewives of Rhode Island, Season 1, Episode 3. Okay, so Rosie and her husband bought a house, and this house needs a ton of renovations. She hates that. She wants it to be over. So apparently her husband is really into house flipping. It's like his thing. But she's just exhausted from all the renovations. So Rosie invites over Ashley I, and yes, I have to call her Ashley I. That's just very important to me. Now they talk about how they thought it was crazy that Kelsey admitted that she's polyamorous, which is just such a funny word and not a word that I typically use. So I feel like just because someone has a boyfriend and then another boyfriend, I've never called them polyamorous. Honestly, it sounds like a dinosaur or some sort of like duck. I just don't see the need to call her polyamorous. So they're just talking about that whole thing and how the Liz rumor with Dino and then not being true. Because Liz explains that Dino, basically, he's this good family friend. And there was this period of time where she and Jerry were together like all the time for 14 years, day in, day out. But then Jerry decided he wanted to go like fly fishing for 3 out of 4 weeks of every month. Okay. So basically, he's only home for a week a month. So she started spending all of this time with Dino, who was a family friend. And she says, was it appropriate? No. But did we cross the line and have sex? No. So, okay. I guess they just had some sort of maybe like emotional affair, if anything. We get this scene where Kelsey meets up with her other boyfriend, Bill, her polyamorous boyfriend. And so she says that she has a don't ask, don't tell with like the main boyfriend, the one who's in Miami right now. Her parents totally know what's up, and they actually want Bill to be her son-in-law or their son-in-law because they figure there's more of a chance there, right? I feel like Kelsey is at this stage, even though she's been in this relationship for 10 years with the other guy, with the Miami guy. I feel like she's finally coming to this stage, and this is the stage that we're meeting her at, where she's like, you know what, this isn't going to work for me anymore because I want to get married. I want to have kids. This was all fine when I was 20 years old and I didn't have a care in the world. But now that I want real things and you're not willing to give them to me, which she says flat out, he is not willing to get married or have kids. Well, then I need to be making other decisions. But here's the thing about the other boyfriend. She's known him since like grade school. He's a friend of the family. Everybody loves him. And he is successful, but he's not successful enough to like fund her lifestyle, the lifestyle where she doesn't need to work. And she says, can she work? Of course. But does she want to? No. And I'm like, girl, come on. He's successful, but not so successful that you wouldn't have to work. Okay. So get a job and you'll live a happy life. You'll have kids. You'll get married. You'll do all those things. I find it so I don't know. I always say this because I'm a regular person. I would never make decisions like that. It just seems so weird to me that people will make such money-based decisions when it comes to their lives. So I don't know. That's just kind of wild to me, and it just makes me question her as a person. But so we see the scene with Alicia inviting Liz over. She shows her doll collection, which it's weird to have a doll collection as a middle-aged woman, is it not? I mean, they're not creepy dolls. I felt like if they were creepy dolls, it might be a whole different story, but they look more like Bratz dolls. I don't really know exactly what kind of dolls they are, but it's a little interesting. I mean, I used to have a collection of trolls, but I was younger and I had like a whole index with like their names and they had like an order and everything. I don't know what ended up happening to them. I don't think I ever made any money from them, and I'm sure my parents gave them away if anything. But like, yeah, what's with the dolls, Alicia? What's with the dolls? So she brings up to Liz that she feels bad about asking her about having an affair, the thing that she brought up at the wine night. Um, I thought it was interesting when Alicia did bring this up because the way that she brought it up seemed very like meek and scared to do it, which obviously is fair given the question that you're asking. We're also playing like a questions game. And the weird way she said it like tipped me off that she didn't really want to be saying this. She was almost like, so about you maybe having an affair or something like that. Maybe there was something there. I mean, what are you talking about? Are you talking about something current? Did somebody tell you to bring this up? Like, it really feels like someone told you to bring this up, i.e., production. Like, hey, can you say that thing now so that we can address that? And that's why she's apologizing here now because she feels really bad about bringing that up. And Alicia's like, people ask her questions all the time that she feels are inappropriate. Like, why hasn't she gotten married yet? Because she's been engaged for 9 years and still not married. And she says she just hasn't seen a successful relationship in her life. She has 6 women in her family. 5 of them are divorced. Her parents are divorced. And so she just doesn't see, like a good relationship. It just makes her really scared. Plus, when her parents got divorced, her father basically ended up taking or like selling the house and leaving her mother with nothing. Her mother had no house. And so that's sort of where it comes from, this fear of like having nothing. And that's why she fears, getting married because she's worried that she would end up with absolutely nothing at the end of the day. Because he said that he wants a prenup, but he would give her absolutely nothing. So it doesn't really make sense for her to get married if she's going to end up like SOL at the end of the day, I guess. That's why she has her guard up about it. So then we have this scene of Rula having lunch with her family, and they're talking about Brian's affair. And I guess it's just like her culture or her family in particular. They're just very like, brush this shit under the rug, forgive him. That's it, right? Like, suck it up, get over it. It's done. And we definitely see that sort of mentality in her. We've seen that. I mean, we've only seen her for 2 episodes now, but we definitely see that mentality in her. Like, yeah, I'm just going to forget it. I'm going to forgive him. Even if he doesn't do a good job apologizing, I'm definitely going to forgive him for this because when you produce the children, when you already produce them, it's just a whole different ballgame. So, okay, Rula. And it's just really sad because, like, I've never seen pictures so blatant like that, right? Like, this was a girl sitting right on his lap. This was an affair that he admitted to, right? So, the fact that she's not really giving herself the space to grieve, get over it, be mad at him, do all the things, right? It really seems like her defense mechanism was just like, okay, put up a wall, pretend this didn't happen, forgive him and move on. And I think she's having a hard time with that, right? Like, we all need to process these things, like culture or not, or producing the kids or not. We all need to deal with our own emotions when it comes to really, really hard times like that. And you can tell by how rigid she is that she doesn't allow herself to do that. So we get the scene with Ashley and Jared going to dinner, and Ashley calls Audrey's a money pit. Remember, Audrey's is the coffee shop that Jared is at all the time, that he owns or they own together. Now, Jared talks about feeling insecure about making no money at Audrey's and basically having to rely on Ashley for the money, which she doesn't mind because she's an influencer and so is he, but he doesn't really want to do that. He wants to do Audrey's. So he feels like he's coming home at the end of the day after working there a million hours to bring home absolutely nothing, and it makes him feel like a failure. So he doesn't feel fulfilled, and then she in turn ends up feeling sad. And she talks about how it's not even the hours that he's putting in. It's the fact that even when he's not there, he's there. He's always thinking about Audrey's. And when she does have him, she doesn't have his best self. And I think that says a lot about what this business is doing to him. Like, look at the Toms. I only say that to say, I understand putting your blood, sweat, and tears into a business, but sometimes you have to know when to walk away. Like Loverboy, sometimes you have to know when to walk away. If it's taking up your whole life to the effect of like really affecting your other relationships, like your marriage, like your children, like all of that. Like, if Ashley feels like she doesn't get 100% of him, not even 100%, but if she feels like she's not getting his best self, imagine how his kids are feeling, right? And I get that this is a passion for him. This is something he's wanted to do. But at some point, I feel like you need to pull the plug if it's affecting your family and yourself. You yourself aren't happy. It would be one thing if it made him happy, but it's not even making him happy. So I don't know. I think Ashley's being a really good wife by being supportive about this and just telling him how she feels, but also just being there through it. Because you know that regardless of him saying, listen, I want to continue Audrey's for the rest of my life and I want you to support us, she would be like, no problem, I've got you. Because that's the girl she is. So it is the 1 year anniversary of Rosie and her husband. What is his name? I forget his name. I want to say Bill, but they are all named Bill. It might be Rich. I think it's Rosie and Rich. And so they have had their 1 year anniversary and they're talking about kids and how she doesn't want them. But then he starts talking about how, well, maybe we shouldn't rule it out. And she's like, yeah, but I've never wanted to be a mom. She talks about how her mom is very Catholic. They weren't going to have a Catholic wedding. Then her mom lost her mind. So they ended up doing it. And then she realized, like, this isn't normal. Now, that is very reminiscent of me and my mom. My mom basically kicked me out because I was dating someone who wasn't Jewish and I had to move in with him after only being together for 6 months because we had nowhere to be. And it was all just because like he wasn't Jewish and this was like the biggest thing in her life, right? So I understand that mentality and having like kind of a sordid relationship with your mom. But it's interesting to hear them talk about, okay, probably prior to going into marriage, she was like, hey man, I don't want kids. And he was like, no problem. And now he's saying differently. She doesn't seem so put off by that, but it seems like a conversation that they've obviously had before, as married couples do. But it's interesting that he's now being like, well, like, let's not rule it out. And she says, well, maybe in 5-10 years. And he's like, 5-10 years. So I'm curious to see what'll happen with that, given now they are sort of on different pages when it comes to something so important. So Liz has a Studio 54. Liz has a Studio 54 party for Jerry. It's for his birthday. And Joellen and her husband approach Brian and Rula because they want to talk to them about the whole calling her work thing, because that was super inappropriate. And Joellen wants her husband to sort of like sick it on him right now. She's like, go and tell him what's up and go and like, cuss this motherfucker out for calling my boss. And it's really funny because Brian, who sort of, I guess, was trying to act like a big man by calling Joellen's boss, now seems very meek and quiet and scared when he's in front of Joellen's husband. He's like, well, because she was saying things about my marriage. And Joellen's husband is like, so that is no reason to call her boss or to like affect our livelihoods. She's a mother. She's working. Like, what are you even talking about? Like, why would you do that? And he's like, well, I just wanted her boss to tell her to leave me alone. Why would her boss do that? Her husband's like, why didn't you call me to say that? That makes no sense. Stay out of our lives. Stay out of, like, don't call her boss. This is absolutely inappropriate. And then the night ends up ending where, but before that, you've got Joellen's husband, like he's going at it. And Rula says to the camera, I kind of wish that my husband had done the same, right? I kind of wish that Brian had sort of stood up for me, but he didn't, right? It would have been nice if he had unleashed a little bit, but he was just so quiet. And I feel like because of that, that also kind of puts her in a place where, not that she's like less likely to forgive him because it seems like she already has, but not only did he cheat on you, but like now he's not even defending you about it, right? And like, that just must make her feel even worse that he's done all this shitty stuff to her. She keeps forgiving him. And then he doesn't even seem to be like fighting for her in any kind of way. Like, I understand that she's forgiving him, but like, is he even asking? Is he even asking her to forgive him? He just seems very lazy about their relationship. And I feel like he's only there because she's not leaving him, quite frankly. So then the episode ends with Liz losing her mind when Dino comes up and Kelsey calls him the ongoing, sort of meaning like that's a situation that is ongoing. You hear Liz like screaming, saying that she hates Kelsey, blah, 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 blah. And like, where there's smoke, there's fire. So it's interesting that she's sort of losing her mind at this miscalculation or misstep or misspeak when it comes to who Dino is. I'm sure Kelsey was just making a joke by calling him the ongoing, but Liz absolutely loses her mind there. So I'm really excited to see what happens next with this. So you'll see me back on Tuesday with Jana Firestone, and we'll be doing our joint podcast on this, talking all things Real Housewives of Rhode Island, episode 4. We're so excited for that. But before that, you will see me on Monday for Reality Roundup. And then after that, you'll see me on Wednesday for Summer House. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the episode. For now, you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. Don't forget again that I started a new podcast called All You Need Is You. You can download that wherever you get your podcasts. And there's also an Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for All You Need Is You. So you can follow us there. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel for the Bravo Investigator, where you can watch today's episode. Join the Facebook page. It's so much fun over there, and I'm finally monetizing, so that's fun. Leave a 5-star review if you don't hate me. And I love you, BBs. I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator Podcast. For more content, head over to patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator Podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.